I welcome you all in Crete, and for this reason I will speak in Greek. Σας καλωσορίζω.
So I welcome everybody to Crete. I welcome you to Greece, to Crete once again. And as you know, Crete is of particularly important for me because it's where I come from. It is also where the Prime Minister comes from, Kyriakos Mitsotakis. So you find yourselves on an island which has particular cultural and historical significance. It has a culture, it is the home of the Minoan civilization and has taught democracy and freedom with the struggles of the Cretan people and of all Greeks, struggles which you are all familiar with. And it is a great joy for us that this particular meeting of the EPP group is taking place here on the island of Crete. This displays the trust of the EPP towards the New Democracy Party, towards Greece, towards our Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis as well. Because indeed, in Greece, we have a government, an EPP government. We have an EPP Prime Minister, and our ambition is in 2024 will be #1 in the European elections and in the national elections in the country. And we achieved this because we moved forward with very bold steps, with major reforms which society needs, which our citizens need, and they trusted us. And we're definitely sure that they will trust us once again. So please enjoy Cretan hospitality, Greek hospitality, the blue skies, the sea, and we'll draw energy from each other in order to become more and better. And we will serve European citizens with that spirit. Manfred, I now invite you to the podium and you have the floor. Thank you very much.
Yeah, finally, dear friends, finally we made it to arrive here in Crete. You know, last year we tried it already once, and there was the earthquake then, and I think a few months ago it was Corona which stopped us to arrive here in Crete. So finally we are here, and that's great to be here. And I want to share with our Greek friends, I think the emotions when we arrived here, because we traveled from all over Europe, mainly with the charter flight from Brussels here to Crete. So we came from rainy Europe to the sunny Crete. So that is the main change we see here, and that motivates us. So good to be here and good to be among friends. And I see in front of me in the first row already a lot of colleagues with a beautiful tie. I have to clarify that the Prime Minister ordered not to have a tie. So obviously that's a Crete approach of doing things, and that is very, very welcome. So dear friends, thank you so much for your participation. I know it's an effort to invest the time to go here to Crete, but you know it is now 1.5 years before the European elections for us an important study days. We don't do this every year, study days that everybody is on board. So it's a huge, important meeting for us, and that's why I really thank you for your presence today. And dear friends, it is a great honor that already at the beginning of our study days, we welcome Kyriakos Mitsotakis among us. He's a Prime Minister of Greece. He managed in the last years to win back, let me say, the reputation of the country, because Greece is not anymore the weak pillar inside of the European architecture. Greece is today one of the strong pillars inside of the European architecture, and that was made by one man and by one party, Kyriakos Mitsotakis and Neo Demokratia. Kyriakos, good to have you among us. We are proud about you. It's good to have you among us. And when I'm welcoming friends, then I also want to say a word to Vangelis, to our delegation leader, but also to the rest of the Greek team inside of the EPP family. All of you, you are doing a great job. You are also individual pillars for the strengths of our team. So I thank you so much for your contribution. I can always rely on you. The team, the whole EPP family can always rely on our Greek friends. So thank you so much for your contribution, Vangelis and the whole team. Thank you so much. And dear friends, we have to look on our agenda. And tomorrow we have two main important things to discuss. First is about the current request from our citizens to give an answer on inflation and on energy. Probably we'll also have some internal discussions about how to answer this, but it is needed, it's necessary, it's urgently necessary to give a proper answer. And I told you that after we, with our expertise inside of the group, after we finalize our document, we can then pass this document up to the leaders level, Kyriakos, to the next meeting on the council level, that then we find a common EPP wording about what is now to do, what is our answer to this challenge. And the second big pillar for this study days is, and I hope we can start this tomorrow, is to initiate a strategic discussion about 2024. I know it's still in our thinking far away, and 1.5 years is in today's political world an extremely long period of time. Nobody knows what will happen in 1.5 years. But we have to prepare ourselves. We have to consider what is the branding, what is the EPP profile, what are the issues where we can convince people in 1.5 years to be again successful, to arrive finally as EPP group as again the strong center-right political family where nobody can govern Europe against us. That is our ambition, that is what we want to do. So those are the two pillars of our discussion today. And again, Crete and Greece is the best place to do this, to get the spirit of this country, to get the spirit of this strong EPP leadership as also a motivation for our work on the European level. That's why, again, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, for being with us. And now we give the floor to Kyriakos with a short video in between, and then we are listening to our guest, to Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis. Thank you so much.
Well, Manfred, thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be able to welcome you to Crete. As you probably know, I am from Crete. And when we discussed with Vangelis, who is also from Crete, where we should have the study days, there was only one choice, Crete, of course. So we're glad that you are here. And I'm sure that you will have a productive 2.5 days, discussion days, but also an opportunity to explore the beauty of the island, maybe jump into the sea, and certainly have a chance to maybe visit the mainland and some of the stunning archaeological sites that are very close to the hotel where we are hosting this event. Manfred, thank you for inviting me. I thought I'd keep my remarks relatively brief so that we can also have an opportunity to answer some of the questions that you may have. But I must tell you that you have shown remarkable resilience in terms of insisting to come to Crete in spite of the many difficulties, an earthquake, another sort of cycle of the COVID pandemic. But speaking of resilience, I would just like to share with you a few thoughts on political resilience and what we have been able to achieve in Greece over these past 3 years, because I think that what we have been able to do in Greece may be relevant within the broader context, the broader discussion that we're having at the level of our European political family. As you probably remember, we were elected to power in July 2019 after experimenting with the populism of the left for 4 years. And we came to power with a very clear mandate. In the meantime, of course, we had to deal as many other European countries, with all sorts of crises. In our case, it was not just COVID and the current spike in inflation. We also had to deal with a migration crisis, Turkey instrumentalizing refugees and migrants starting in March 2020, and of course also with being a force of stability in a very unstable geopolitical neighborhood. But in spite of us spending a lot of time dealing with crises which were not of our own making, we have been successful in implementing our electoral agenda. And our number one focus when we came into power was to make sure that we change the fabric of the Greek economy, that we deliver growth, jobs, and better income to all Greeks. And indeed, I took note of what you said, Manfred, that Greece is no longer the black sheep of the European family. And it does give us satisfaction when we read in the foreign press interesting stories about how Greece is currently buckling the trend and is doing particularly well at a time when the global economy is currently being plunged into a recession. There was a very interesting and flattering article yesterday in the Financial Times mentioning 7 countries that are currently performing extremely well in terms of their economic performance. One of them was Greece, and of course this gives us satisfaction that we have been able to deliver when it comes to our fundamental promise, which was to put Greece on a high growth trajectory, bring down unemployment, attract foreign direct investment, and make sure that the Greek economy becomes again as competitive as it can possibly be. If you look at our growth numbers, we will exceed a growth of 5% this year. We could reach close to 6%, and we're estimating a growth in excess of 2% for next year at a time when many European countries may be faced with a recession. We've been able to bring down unemployment by more than 5 percentage points. We had a record year in terms of attracting foreign direct investment, and we've been able to diversify the Greek economy beyond our traditional pillars, tourism, agriculture, to attract significant investment in renewables, but also in new areas such as technology. All the American technology companies have invested in Greece, and Greece is becoming very rapidly a technology hub for the entire region. At the same time, we focused a lot on issues which are very close to the heart of our political family, related to security and defense. After 10 years of underinvestment in our defense forces, we've launched a program of making sure we add the necessary capacities to our defense forces, while at the same time also dealing with a very unpredictable neighbor. We focused a lot on making sure that we put in place a different policy regarding migration. We can actually protect our borders with respect to fundamental rights. We've been able to bring down migration flows by more than 80% in the Aegean. We've essentially killed the smugglers' networks that profited from human trafficking from the Aegean coast of Turkey to our islands. And we've also called out Turkey in terms of its practices of instrumentalizing migrants and refugees for its own geopolitical purposes. And at the same time, we've also implemented a series of reforms in terms of making sure we upgrade the technological capacity of the state. You can now interact with the state digitally for most of your day-to-day affairs. We've invested a lot in education, we've invested a lot in health, and we're really focused on making sure that the new growth that we envision brings down inequalities and promotes social fairness. So we're really talking about an inclusive growth, which of course makes no compromises when it comes to protecting our environment. Our green agenda has been one of the most proactive in Europe, and we intend to keep it that way for the foreseeable future. So we are really entering the electoral cycle, I believe, from a position of strength. We're still ahead in the polls by anywhere between 8 and 10 percentage points. And I think when the time will come in the spring of 2023 to make our case to the Greek people, I think we have a reasonable chance of making the case that we kept our electoral promises, that Greece is now in a much better position than it was when we took over in 2019, and I'm confident that the Greek people will give us a second mandate to complete the job that we have started. Few words on the challenges ahead. As all European heads of state and government, we're preoccupied, dear Manfred, with one question, and that one question is the rising cost of living, inflation, which has been the product of rising costs of energy as a result of the instrumentalization of gas by Russia. We have all put in place aggressive support programs to support businesses and households with the rising cost of energy. But I want to make the case that this is not going to be enough. I'm afraid that Europe has not been able, as of yet, to come up with a concrete response when it comes to the problem of energy. Greece has been actively lobbying with many other European countries for a cap on the price of gas, which will include both LNG coming into Europe, but also the piped gas from Russia into Europe, and has been gaining additional support by other European countries. We're not quite there yet in terms of convincing the Commission that this is a path we need to pursue. But unless we get this right, unless we add to the domestic firepower that our budgets can provide, the European firepower of a coordinated response, I am afraid that we're in for a very difficult winter, and that social cohesion will actually begin to be challenged. If that is the case, then we will give more opportunities for populists to arise ahead of the electoral cycle of 2024, and we will make our job of convincing our electorates that we are credible forces for change that much more difficult. So when you think and when you discuss tomorrow and the day after tomorrow about European responses to the question of inflation, please add into your discussion ideas and thoughts about how we can coordinate our European response when it comes to tackling the issues related to the cost of energy, because this is the #1 problem that we will be facing over the next winter. Let me conclude before I take any questions that you may have with the commitment of Nea Dimokratia, dear Manfred, to support the EPP in light of the electoral cycle of 2024. We have proven in Greece that you can deliver credible and inclusive growth while being patriotically sensitive when it comes to issues of foreign policy, defense, and migration, and thus widen our electoral appeal at the expense of populists, both from the right and from the left. If these lessons are in any way helpful for our overall European campaign, I'm always ready to share them with you. You can count on our support, and we'll make sure that Nea Dimokratia leads the effort in order to strengthen, even further strengthen, the position of the EPP within European politics. And before then, I'm sure that the EPP will stand by us as we fight for a second term in the elections that will take place in Greece in 2023. Again, thank you very much for your attention. Ready to take any questions that you may have.